Will the real Joseph please stand up? He wore a robe of many colors. He dreamed of stars bowing down and sheaves of grain standing tall. He was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold for silver, imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. And then he rose to become the most powerful man in Egypt, second only to Pharaoh himself. But here's the real question. Was Joseph real? And if he was, can we actually find him? Not in kiddie book illustrations, but in the pages of Egypt's history. So today, we dig into the evidence, from tombs to timelines, to uncover the astonishing truth about the biblical Joseph. Hey, making these videos takes a lot of hard work and research, so don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. And be sure to head over to my website, JewsGodHistory.com, where you can access specially crafted podcasts that take you on a deep dive into Jewish history, thought, and culture. Check it out. And think about it, to many scholars, Joseph is a symbol, a morality tale. He's a hero's journey designed to inspire, not just to inform. But then there are others, serious scholars, who look at the story and see something different. They see a memory, a compressed echo of real events, real people, and real places. And according to this view, Joseph wasn't just a metaphor. He was a man, a foreigner, a Semite. So brace yourself. We may have found his house. We need to rewind the clock, not to the time of Ramses II, Ramses the Great, as most Hollywood films do, but go even further back in time. We're going to a city buried deep beneath the foundations of Avaris. That's right, Avaris. That's modern-day Tel el-Dab'a. It's one of the richest archaeological sites in all of Egypt. It was a thriving city in the eastern Nile Delta, strategically placed at the crossroads of trade with Canaan and the Levant. And what about its population? We're talking about thousands of Asiatic Semites, people with cultural and physical traits pointing northward to the land of the Bible. The Egyptians called them Heka Hasut, rulers of foreign lands. You might know them by another name, the Hyksos. But before the Hyksos kings came to power, Avaris already had a large and wealthy Semitic community. And in the midst of this foreign quarter stood one remarkable residence. It was a grand villa. It was surrounded by gardens. It had 2 large courtyards. There were rows of storage rooms and servants' quarters. And nearby, 12 tombs. 12 tombs. Think about it. But one tomb was unlike anything else. It was pyramid-shaped, something normally reserved for royalty, not for a foreigner. And inside stood a statue, life-sized, of a man with unmistakably Semitic features. Sharp nose, reddish hair, yellowish skin tone, and wearing a coat painted, get this, in multiple colors. Sound familiar? And then, mystery. No name on the tomb. No bones in the sarcophagus. The burial had been deliberately emptied. Now, could this villa have belonged to a powerful Semitic leader, one honored by the Egyptians, but later remembered by most of the Israelites? Could this be, in fact, Joseph? The biblical account tells us that Joseph was sold as a slave, yet he rose to become Pharaoh's Vizier, the second highest office in the land. Egyptian records from the 12th dynasty mention a man named Anhu, a vizier who served multiple pharaohs, who wielded immense administrative power, and who was trusted with the nation's resources. There's even a suggestion that Joseph may correspond to this kind of figure, possibly even Anhu himself, living during the reign of Pharaoh Amenemhat III. Why Amenemhat III? Because under his rule, we see several events that line up eerily well with Joseph's story. We're talking about massive grain storage complexes that appear across Egypt. There's a centralization of authority in the Nile Delta. And population records show a notable increase in Semitic settlers. And then there's the famine. Now, Genesis chapter 41 records Joseph interpreting Pharaoh's dream. Remember Pharaoh's dream? 7 fat cows devoured by 7 thin cows. 7 full heads of grain swallowed by 7 withered ones. 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine. Egyptian flood records from this time, combined with geological evidence, suggest a real environmental shift. Years of plentiful Nile inundations suddenly replaced by years of low floods and drought. The Egyptians responded with vast grain storage projects, granaries capable of holding enough food to feed the nation through multiple bad harvests. And just as Genesis describes, people sold their land and livestock to the state in exchange for grain, consolidating Pharaoh's power. There are papyrus documents from the period that even note extraordinary administrative control by the vizier, exactly Joseph's role in the biblical narrative. Coincidence? Maybe. Or perhaps confirmation. After the famine, Joseph brought his family from Canaan to settle in Egypt, specifically in the land of Goshen in the eastern Nile Delta. Archaeology reveals that during the Middle Kingdom, this very region saw a booming Semitic population. They kept their pastoral lifestyle. They buried their dead in distinctive ways. They brought Levantine-style pottery. And their numbers grew dramatically, just as Exodus 1:7 records.
But the Israelites were fertile and prolific. They multiplied and increased very greatly, so that the land was filled with them. A new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, "Look, the Israelite people are much too numerous for us. Let us deal shrewdly with them, so that they may not increase. Otherwise, in the event of war, they may join our enemies in fighting against us and rise from the ground." So they set taskmasters over them to oppress them with forced labor, and they built garrison cities for Pharaoh.
So let's return to the mystery of the tomb in Avaris. Why no bones? Why were no bones found in this tomb? Well, maybe the answer is hidden away in Exodus 13:19.
Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for Joseph had made the Israelites swear to carry his bones up with them.
That means that if this was Joseph's tomb, its emptiness isn't evidence against his existence. No, it's exactly what we would expect to find if his remains were carried out of Egypt during the Exodus. This pyramid-shaped tomb, built for a Semitic official of extraordinary rank, may be one of the few archaeological markers directly tied to a biblical patriarch. Not a random absence, but an intentional remembrance. Well, let's step back and look at the big picture. 1. A Semitic community of high status in the Nile Delta, in exactly the right location. 2. A grand villa and pyramid tomb for a non-Egyptian, complete with a statue in a multicolored coat. 3. Evidence of a national grain storage and redistribution program during a reign known for environmental instability. 4. Records of a powerful vizier wielding centralized authority. 5. An empty tomb, matching the biblical claim that Joseph's bones were taken out of Egypt. None of these pieces alone prove the Joseph story. But together, together they paint a picture of a plausible historical backdrop. Well, what can we say in the final analysis? Whether you see Joseph as a historical figure or a legendary one, his story resonates because it blends human drama with national transformation. From betrayal to redemption, from slavery to leadership, from dreams to destiny. And just maybe a revised Egyptian chronology, though it doesn't claim absolute proof, nonetheless reopens the whole conversation. So maybe Joseph really did walk the streets of Avaris. Maybe he really did serve a Pharaoh in a time of crisis. Maybe his wisdom fed nations and saved lives. And maybe, just maybe, the traces of his life are still there, under the sands, waiting to be rediscovered. And remember, sometimes the most unbelievable stories turn out to be true. So until next time, keep dreaming and keep digging.